Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel where tech meets creativity, and in today's automation video we'll be looking at state machines in UiPath Studio. So I'll go ahead and start a fresh project. So I'll click on add. So you see I have different ways in which I can start a project. I have a sequence, I have a flowchart, I have a state machine. So for this particular use case, I'll be looking at state machine. So I'll go and select state machine, I'll create. So this is how it comes. So it's saying I'm getting an error which says state machine must have an initial state, and then I'll come into my activities panel, then I'll type in state. So you see I have three activities that are associated with state. I have a final state, and then the state machine, which is this very workflow that you're working in. So I'll grab my state and then I'll double click on it. So when we look at the state, we see it has two parts, so three parts. So we're saying we have the entry and we have the exit as well as the transition. So the entry, this is where you put activities that are associated with your entry, and then the exit, these activities will be executed as it is exiting this state, and then transition, these are what helps. This is what helps the bot to know when to transition to another state. So we can also grab the final state. So when you look at the final state, it only has the entry point. It doesn't have the other two sections, which is the exit and the transition. When I do this now, state must have one. I'm getting the error before this was having that I need to get initial state. So after attaching this state here to this, now it's saying state must have at least one transition. So what do they mean by that? I'll just copy and paste this same state. So to do away with this error, state must have one transition. This is what they're saying. So now you see, and now it's saying state must have only one transition on this new state that I've just put. So a state cannot exist on its own, it must be connecting to a state. So a single state can connect to different states. You can see this in our practice. Copy still. We can have a single state transitioning to different states, but a state cannot just be there. It has to transition finally to a final state like this. So every state, the final state is the last state. You cannot transition from the final state, and then a state itself cannot exist on its own. It always has to transition to a final state. But you can have different final states within the same project. For example, still I can grab another final state here, and still it can work. But it's saying set 3 must contain a condition. You can only have one condition. No? So I'll do this. Delete. So you see, you can have different different final states, but you cannot have let me see this one. You cannot have a single state transitioning to the same final state tries. Let me see. We can check. It says triggerless transition T5 state must contain a condition state. Yeah. So yeah, it's possible as long as you have different different transition conditions. So that's it on a high level. So we can go ahead and jump into the demo, so that you can get this in its totality with the demo. That's it for the theory. So I'll go ahead and open my browser. So I'll open this side by side. So this is the use case that we're working with. I'm on UiPath Academy, and this is the practice vending machine. If I maximize a bit for you, this is state machine in studio. This is the UiPath Academy. Yeah, so this is the exercise that you'll be doing. So they are saying create a workflow that stimulates a vending machine. The functionality should be the following. The user is asked to choose the initial credit. If they have selected an initial amount, then they are asked to select the drink they want. Right? So I'll go ahead and do this. I'll come into activities, start, grab my state. I'll grab my state. That would be my initial state. So the saying the user is asked to choose initial credit. So I'll go into my activities panel, then I'll type in input dialog. I'll maximize, come back here. Then in the entry, I'll put the input dialog. The user has to initial, so these are my data. So I'll come in here. I'll select multiple choice. Credit, double quotes, credit, check, and then input what's there. That is, yeah, credit. So double quotes, then I'll put my values. So for multiple choice in the input, I separate them with a semicolon, and then in the results, that's why I'll keep it there. I'll keep my value in the value that the users input in my, I'll call it int creditor credit. So I'll save. So it says this is the area that we looked at earlier, that state must have at least one transition. So this is what happens when the user selected the value. If I come into the variables panel, you see that this int credit is actually a string. So I'll change the name to a string, str string credit. So I have to convert this from string to integer to be able to evaluate it further in my program, because they're saying if they have selected an initial amount, then they are asked to select the drink. Then in part 2 we're saying next the vending machine should check if the user has enough credit for the selected drink. If yes, so to be able to do this check, this has to be an integer. So I'll have to clean up this. Come into here, grab my assign activity. So in this assign activity, I will create a variable int credit, so come into the panel, change from string to integer, int 32, and then I'll get my string. I'll use the string function called replace, and then I'll replace the $, right, with a space. And after doing that, I'll convert the entire thing into an integer using the cint function, and then store it into my int credit. So this here, I'm saying I rename this to converting credit to integer, value. So that's what that function does there. Then this asks for user input. So the thing, if they have selected an initial amount, then they are asked to select the drink they want. Yeah, so I'll come in here, I'll come step back, then I'll come into the activities, and then I'll type in state. So I'll call this state select credit, and then I'll call this choose. I'll call it choose drink. So after verifying here, then we transition to here. So in this transition, so the transition that I'll use here, so if I come into my select credit state, you see that I'm doing what? You see that I'm converting this. So what happens in the event that the user hasn't typed in anything? Okay, so in the event, I have to check here. Before I'll do check, and let's say checking credit is not nothing. I'll first do that check. If it is not nothing, that's when I'll do this conversion. So this is what it checks. If it is not nothing, then that's when I convert, so that I can deal with the incident in case the string is empty. So only that's when. So for the transition, I'll check the scope of this string credit. I'll try to increase on it. I'll put it on state machine. So when you transition to this, the condition would be we transition to that if this is not nothing. So this one checks if value, checks if credit value is available. Okay, like that. So it's only transitions. This is the condition that you have to fit. If this is not nothing, that's when we should transition to choose drink, and if we choose in the choose drink, we say if they have selected an initial amount, then they are asked which drink they will take. So this is how we get here. So I'll come open this, and then I'll pick my input dialog still. Pick my input dialog, put it there. I'll call these drinks. I'll pose a question. What will you drink? Yeah. And then it will be a multiple choice. And then my options. My options are those. So we have coffee hyphen $3, then semicolon T, is that $3, and I'll keep this in a variable. I'll call it chosen drink. So after doing that, so you see I have some extra text here. So I'll pick my assign activity. So that's the chosen drink, which comes, it will be a string, it will be coffee with those text. So I'll create another variable here and I'll call it drink price. So drink price, and I'll change it to an integer. So we do this. So I'll come in here and I'll say I'll ask using natural language that we a RegEx expression that scraps the digit from the text provided. So I'll cut what's on my paper. I'll move this. I'll enter. So you see it has provided me with the regular expression, this, but I'll just remove all this, then I'll provide my variable, which is chosen drink. So you see how you can leverage just natural language processing within Studio to be able to generate expressions faster. So you see just this simple prompt, I'm able to get this nice looking expression, and it's already on point. So you see, it's not giving me an error. So whichever input is provided by the user, I'll use this to scrape. So I'll call this, it's actually getting the price of the selected item. Right? So once I have that, so here, then it says, so here I'm asking for input from the user, which is this selected. Next, the vending machine should check. So if yes, should check if the user has enough funds for the selected drink. So how to check? I'll come into my activities panel. I type in if. So I drag my if activity. So I'll say check available credit. And the condition I provide here, so I'm picking this value here, this initial credit, that the init credit that was provided. So I increase its sequence to state machine so that I can view it from the other side. State machine, come here. So I will init credit if the initial credit is greater or equal to the drink price, right? This drink price, then we should be good to go, because that should be. So if yes, display message and subtract the initial price from the so with that, I'll come here, I'll drag my assign activity, and I'll say int, which is my initial credit, so it will be initial credit minus drink price. So once I do that, it says success message and subtract the price. So I'm done subtracting. The user is then asked if they want to buy another drink or get their change. So I've subtracted to get the total remaining credit, and then the user is prompted again to ask them what they want to drink or not. So I'll come back here, activities, and I'd say input dialog. I'll drag and put it here. So I'll say please pick the next action, and then I will still use natural processing to say let me get the message showing the credit and choice of drink. So you see, just this, I'm able to get these expressions the same. String format, you can add in $sign here, and you have chosen. So it gives me that, and then I'll come here, I'll go with multiple choice, and then I'll put there 2 options. I'll go with 2 options, so I'm using buy another drink, semicolon, get your change back, and then I'll store that into a string str. I'll call it user choice. User choice. So we can test a bit. Let me see. We can test a bit from here. We can come into activities, state. Just put a dummy test here in the meantime. Do this just for testing purposes, then I'll come for final state. Then I'll put a breakpoint up to here. I'll use F9 to put a breakpoint, and then I'll try to run in debug using F6 to test. So it's saying what's your credit, I select. So it's telling me what would you drink. I choose coffee. So if I here can come, I pick coffee. If I say you need credit, so coffee was about how much? Coffee is $3. I picked 5, right? My choice was 5, though, as my credit. I picked 5, so 5 minus 3, you get 2. So you see, this is on point. So it's so far so good. So far so good. We're able to transition from this select state to this to check. So then I'll carry on. So when the user provides the input, I'm storing it in here. So I'm gonna use an if statement to be able to come up with a logic that will enable me to transition from this state. So because here you see I have 2 conditions. They're saying if yes, display what we have done, display asking them again, and then they're saying if no, then they're transition to, if no, the user is transitioned to the final state where a message box is displayed with the available amount to be returned. So that will be here in the else part, but we are still here. So they're saying the user is then asked wants to buy another drink. So in the event that the user says another drink, or get change. So we're coming up with a logic that's gonna help us to, in case the user selects this action, you see the options that we provided them. If they select buy another drink, how do you go about this? And if they say get their change, how do you go about it? So it's very simple. So I'll just come check the string. I'll say I'm checking if this string is nothing. I'll check with 2 conditions, if it's nothing, or I'll check if my string dot contains a get. So if it has a get in it, right, I'll grab my assign activity, right, grab my assign activity, create a variable, okay, I call it get change, and it should be a boolean or type boolean. So get change, if this is true, then get change should be initiated with the value of true. Since it will be transitioning out, and now there's no need to put anything here. So I'll collapse this a bit so I explain properly. So checking. So it first comes here. Check if credit is available. Action accordingly. If it is not available, then the user shall use the final state while the message box is displayed. So in this else, I can put an activity. I'll say message box. Just inform the user. Inform them that insufficient funds. That's the message box that I'll give to them, and I will do the same thing that I did here. Copy this. We still go to the same point. So this is the scope error. So I'll come here, variables panel, then I'll increase the scope. I'll put it in state machine. So if I come here, then I come in the final state. So the same final state where the message box is displayed with the available amount and return a goodbye message. Yeah, so I'll come here, get a message box, and I use this message. So I'm saying your balance is goodbye. I don't need this step, this was just for testing. So change to this. I want to put the transition. So they reduce if it is a yes, if they are asked. So in the event that the user is asked if they want to buy another drink, see that this is the state where we choosing the drink from. So you can transition, a state can transition to itself like this. So I'll come here. I'll maximize here. So this is the thing. So for this, to transition to itself, I'll come into this, and in the condition it will be saying not get change. So this will be false, right? So remember I said get change is a Boolean value, and you have seen that I've been equating it to a Boolean value of true. So to transition back to choose drink state, this condition has to be met. Not get true, not get change has to be met. So this will say I'll change this to buy another drink. And then this one, to transition to this, since it's already true, I'll just type in get change. It's already true, and this give change. I'll call it give back change transition. So I'll try to maximize. Maximize a bit, and then I'm gonna explain properly in detail to see whether the concept has been gotten. So still, we could check here, because we're checking here, it's saying credit is not nothing. So to be able, if it is no credit has been provided, I could say here credit is nothing. So this is empty user response, and we're gonna see this in a minute. I'll be explaining properly. Yeah. So this is the thing. So I'm starting off with the select credit state. So in this state, we asking the user for their input and validating whether the user has input something. If they have input something, then we are converting whichever they have input to an integer. We are getting their credit and converting it to an integer. So once with that, so here check if credit value is, this has to be credit. I made a mistake. So if the credit value has been provided, we transition to the choose drink, and this is our condition for this is the condition that we use to check credit. I'll change it to check the credit value. So it says maximize here, maximize a bit. So you see, this is the condition. String is not nothing. That's when we transition to choose drink. So once we choose drink, so we're also doing something simple. So we're asking, or we are displaying something to the user. We are displaying a choice to them to pick from a list of drinks. So they choose either coffee or tea. Whichever they choose, we are scraping the price from the choice they have made and storing it into the drink price variable. So here we're doing a check, because we did see on our use case here, we have to Next, vending machine should check if the user has enough credit. So to do that, we're using the init credit, and so we're checking if it is greater or equal to. So once that's done, then we're doing the subtraction to get the balance, and then prompting the user again to showcasing to them what their credit as well as their choice of drink, and then prompting them to choose whether they want to buy another drink or they want to get their change back. So whichever choice they make, so we using the get change boolean variable to be able to try to make decisions. So if this condition is met where the choice of the user is contains something, and if it contains a get, then we just change this to a true. We just assign the get change boolean value to a true. And the other thing is, if there are insufficient funds on this condition, if there are insufficient funds, we're displaying something to the user and also assigning get change to true. So get change to true, we're having this transition, then give back change, we're using this condition. If this is true, we're just transitioning to the final state. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and run in debug mode. So running debug mode. Debug mode, then I'll select a value. So I've selected that. So I'll choose coffee. So I'll just continue. So it's telling me your credit is 2. I selected coffee, which was $3, and then your choice was, so buy another drink. Yeah, I can still buy. I have my $2. So I'll go with tea, which is $2, and then I'll continue again. You have 0 credit. You choose buy another drink. Now I'll just get my change back. So your balance is 0. Goodbye. So in the event that I don't provide anything, so I could come here, then F6, and I just say okay. It says the first time I tried to run, you see it has failed. So when I looked into the issue, it was you have to pay attention to the transitions. So the select was on top of the empty response. So what I did, I first disconnected I deleted this, I selected it, then I deleted it. So then I put it back again. So on putting it back again, it came in this order. So the order matters. If you have select on top, it might never, even the event that the user doesn't provide any credit or any value or any input, it might not be able to get it to this empty if it is down. So that the order matters of the transitions. Yeah, you should put that into consideration as well. So I've just made a few amendments. I changed the is not to is nothing there, and also the part where I'm doing the conversion. This one, the conversion to int. I as well removed it from the then and put it in the else, and also encapsulated it with the try catch because it was getting some errors. So I'll go ahead and run. So when I run, if I don't provide any value and I continue, see it say your balance is 0, goodbye. And if I provide values, if I provide a value, so I'll choose 20, then I'll continue. So it will tell me what will you drink. If I choose coffee, I'll continue still. So I chose coffee the first time, so I can choose buy another drink. So I'm still presented. I'll choose coffee. It was $17. 17 minus 80, we expect 14. So your credit is 14. Then I can also buy another drink again. So I can choose tea here. It was 17. So I expect 15, right? At 12. Right? So then I'll choose get you change back. Come and choose get you change back. So I'm transitioning to the final state. So that's it for the state machine. Hope you have found this video useful and you have picked something from today's tutorial. So if you do have any questions, you can leave them in the chat, and don't forget to subscribe and also like the video so that you're always notified every time I upload a new video. I'm out, and see you in the next one.